Hi everybody, welcome to my week 7 update following the ketogenic diet. I can't believe it's been 7 weeks because it's really been the easiest diet that I've ever done, and I'm really quite enjoying it, aside from succeeding, so that's really good. I've had a pretty good week as well, and I've had some interesting conversations with some people that aren't keto and also haven't been overweight significantly their whole lives and that sort of thing, so just talking with some friends. Had another sort of potluck kind of event, and yeah, I think people are starting to notice that I bring particular kinds of dishes now. So I brought some deviled eggs and some cheese and cabana on toothpicks and that kind of thing, and that sort of opened up the conversation. And it was really interesting, like that a lot of people are open to it. So I have one friend here in Tonga who's an actual nutritionist, and I've heard her and her husband, who's also a nutritionist, kind of make some comments about low carb sort of living, in that that's not something that they support, or that I acknowledge that it's not as scientifically based as some ways of eating, that there just hasn't been the long-term, like longitudinal studies or random controlled trials of low carb eating, and especially in a completely obese population, that just hasn't been studied, so that it's not that it isn't true, and that it doesn't work for people. It's that there isn't the scientific studies to back it up, and that's just something that takes a lot of time and money pumping in. And obviously probably heard there's quite the opposite incentives from industry to try and prove other things true, to sort of support different industries like sugar and corn and all those sorts of things. So yeah, that I was always a bit nervous, particularly with them, because I really like them as people, but just a bit awkward when it's something they don't support, and that's the field where they're experts and stuff like that, and just sort of going a bit rogue rather than seeking their advice. But I sort of was explaining to people how it's like really revolutionary for me not to want to eat, and saying that in previous weight loss efforts, it's always a matter of willpower stepping in at the end of a meal to say, no, you shouldn't eat anymore. Not that I never wanted to eat anymore, or not that I never wanted to eat the chips and chocolate and stuff that was on the table in front of me. It was always, a mental thing to step in and say, no, that's enough. It's gonna make you put on weight and that sort of thing. And I think eventually that way of approaching food, you end up running out of energy, or the slightest thing that sort of upsets you mentally is gonna just really erode the willpower that you had that was stopping you from doing it. And that's certainly what I've found. But yeah, what's revolutionary about this way of eating is that I can sort of look at food differently and be like, yeah, I'm sure it'd be nice, but I'm alright. I don't really need it, and I don't feel that compulsion to eat, and I feel really full a lot of the time, and really satisfied, which is what a lot of people talk about. Which is a really new feeling for me, and that's why I feel far more positive about this way of eating than I've ever felt about anything else that I've tried. And I really feel like it's an achievable thing for me to actually lose weight until I'm at a normal size, which is really exciting, because in the past I've been determined before and tried to tell myself that I can really do it, blah blah blah, but I think deep down I never really thought that. I was waiting for the next thing to stuff it up, and knowing it was going to be this battle for years of turning yourself, turning things that you actually want down, and that eventually that's going to give way. So, that this is really different, and I feel like it's a game changer, and a lot of the food is stuff that I'd really enjoy to eat anyway. And I remember when I was little, when we had some salami and stuff, that I always really loved cheese and those sorts of things. And remember being really naughty once and having salami with cheese on the top as a secret snack one time when my mum wasn't home or something, and realising now that would have been a completely healthy ketogenic, well, not healthy with salami, obviously it's very processed, but it would have fit within the ketogenic way of eating, and perhaps would have been good for me being obese at the time. So that's all really exciting, I think, and a really good result on the scales this week. So I lost 1.7 kilos or 3.75 pounds, which is pretty huge for a week 8 loss, and it really wasn't like any extra effort that I didn't expect it to be any higher. Like maybe I've just been trying because I know that I'm really close. So I'm down to 110.3 or 143.16, and as I said last week or the week before, my first goal is 110, so I'm so close. So maybe because I'm close and knew that I could get close, some days I was where I was under my calories, I was leaving it at that, making a conscious decision not to overdo it. And yeah, but just making sure that I met my protein. Yeah, and I've been having protein iced coffees a lot, which it's getting stinking hot here. So when I come home at lunch to cook lunch, that sometimes I'll go back to work with just a scoop of protein powder and some instant coffee blended up with ice, and that's really nice and helps to get that protein up without getting the calories and other macros up as well. So that, yeah, I think that's a really good option for me. But yeah, I just sort of adjust. If I know what I'm having for dinner, I'll plug all that into my fitness cow first, which I've just changed the name to Keto in the Kingdom if anyone wants to follow along. So I try and work that out, and then I might just have like a half a scoop or a quarter of a scoop or the full 2 scoops of protein powder, just to try and hit that protein macro. Which is something I've been trying to do. I've sort of been losing hair for a long time, that I remember probably when I was in my early 20s, my hair was a lot thicker, so that it's definitely been well before keto, and I've been vegetarian before and stuff, but I think it's more an iron deficiency and a few other things, but I'm conscious of trying not to lose any more because I don't have too much left, and in fact try and build it up. So I've cooked a whole bunch of bone broth this week. I've got 5 mason jars full. And we also got from Tongan Funerals, the family brings you a gift. It was a workplace funeral, so that our work donated a significant amount of money and other stuff. So then the family, the week after the funeral, returns with a gift, which in our case was an entire cow carcass and an entire pig and 12 boxes of chicken and a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, my share of that was about 4 kilos of fresh beef, so that I've just cooked that up in a slow cooker yesterday, so I've got a mass load of shredded beef this week, so that'll be a lot of my food, and the bone broth. So yeah, I'm hoping that will be a really good addition next week, and hoping for a really good week because I don't have too much on socially, and I have a massive couple of weeks, the weeks after next week, so I'm really going to try and put in a solid week this week. Yeah, just to prepare for huge weeks. So I've got my birthday and a party and the work Christmas party, and then going back to Australia on the 20th, in that week after. So yeah, trying to keep everything under control this week to prepare myself that it might be a turbulent week the following week. Yeah, and I'm really nervous about going home to, like my family home in Tasmania with my husband, because, yeah, my parents don't eat this way, and, I always have issues when I go home than when I live on my own. It was much easier because I just wouldn't buy things that I know I'll eat to excess, but when you go home, there's often chocolate biscuits and all sorts of delicious things in Mum's cupboard that I just am always tempted to raid, because it's just a habit that I've had since I was young. So that I'm really going to try hard to focus on all the good keto foods that I can cook, which I can't make here because I don't have the specialist ingredients. So I'm going to, eat a lot of that stuff, like looking forward to some fresh raspberries and that sort of stuff, and try and focus on the enjoyment that I'll get from that, rather than focusing on, I can't have the Christmas M&Ms that Mum will undoubtedly put on the table, and that sort of stuff, and trying to plan like a really decadent Christmas lunch. So I think I'm going to try and keep everything keto, but not monitor the calories, so just cook up all the stuff that I've dreamed about, when you're browsing recipes, but yeah, all of it will be low carb and high fat, and that sort of stuff, and it'll probably, with the fat included, that you probably can't overeat as easily as you can on other meals, and other Christmas times, just because the fat will make you feel sick if you have far too much sometimes, but we'll see anyways. But yes, I'm a bit nervous about being at home in general, but hopefully I can like focus on that not wanting to eat, and hopefully that's enough to stop me. And there's a lot of catching up with people that don't know about this way of eating, and so it's going to be tricky, but I'm going to do my best to stick to vodka soda, black coffee, or in Australia they have really good coffee, so that hopefully a lot of menus will have a Vienna coffee or the one with just cream in it, that will be an option, which it's certainly not in Tonga. Try and stick to those sort of things, and certainly in Australia they're a lot more responsive to menu changes, so that I think I can go out to most places and even just pick places that have an all-day breakfast and hopefully stick to keto-friendly things like eggs. Fingers crossed, but I know it's going to be a challenging few weeks at home. But so next week I'm hoping for good things, and I've started to do like occasional workouts with my kettlebell. I've only got, because I share it with my husband, we've only got one, so it's quite a heavy one that's 10 kilos. So there's a few things that I struggle to do because it's a bit too heavy. For some of the like tricep dips I can only do about 10, or like the overhead ones or whatever, because it's quite a heavy weight for those kind of muscle groups on me. But I can certainly do kettlebell swings and squats and stuff like that. So I've started to just try and do 50 of something a few times a week. So I just pick an exercise and just do that. So maybe that's been helping a little bit. But it makes me feel good to have done something. And hopefully start to tone up at the same time as trimming down, so that I'm not all wobbly at the end. So I think all in all, it's a really good week for me, and I'm just feeling really positive about this way of eating, and I hope you are too and enjoying it. I hope you have a great week, and hopefully I'll come back next week with photos of my reward breakfast for reaching 110 kilos. Fingers crossed. So the other thing was the comparison pictures. So I've included something there, and I've decided to change the top that I weigh in each week. So I'll still have the red one around to try every now and then, but I don't think you can see my lumps and bumps easily enough in the red one, so that I've swapped to a lighter colour, which is a lot less flattering, and but I'm hoping it'll be a better comparison in the end. So it annoys me that I'll have to change and they can't all be in the same thing, but I think it's the right choice, because the red t-shirt, every time you hang it on the clothesline, it starts to pull into a different shape, and it's starting to get faded and all sorts of things. So I think this will be a better option, but that's why I've changed clothes, just because I think it'll help. But I have the red one from today as well to compare apples with apples, but I'll include the green one as well. Alright, I hope you have a great week. See you next week. Bye.
Color